Hello, job seekers. Melanie here with CGL Recruiting, and today we're going to be talking about panel interviews. Now, I know they can be nerve-wracking. We're going to try and give you some strategies to help you put your best foot forward when you find yourself in one of these situations. Now, if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing, give us that thumbs up in the end if you feel this data is helpful, and share us with other job seekers who are also in the trenches looking for their next great job. So, panel interviews. Now, best case scenario with these is you actually are notified in advance that you're going to have a panel interview. And if you are notified, it is absolutely your friend to be able to find out who are the people that are going to be doing the panel interview with you. Why? Because normally when you're doing a one-on-one interview, you get to know that person very quickly and get to know more about what filter they're going to look at you through. So for example, if they are in accounting and finance, they're going to look at you through that filter. If they're HR, they're going to look at you through an HR filter, so on and so forth. So with a panel interview, if you're fortunate enough to get the information in advance where you know exactly who you're going to be meeting with, it is worth your time to go off and take a couple of minutes and look up each one of these people. LinkedIn is a great tool for this. You can also look on the company's website, look under their leadership or management team, and hopefully they're there. But you want to find out information about them and try to see, okay, this person is part of the operations team and I'm going for accounting position. Maybe this person's going to want to know how I tie in or understand that accounting operations. So the more data you can find out, the better you will be. You don't always, though, get that opportunity. So if you don't, you're going to have to try and pick this up very quickly. And when they introduce themselves, it's totally okay to say, oh, and you're in which area of the company? And that way you at least have a little bit of time to think about what filter they're going to look at you from. Okay, so now that you have that, one of the big questions that we always have with panel interviews is you may have 4 people sitting in front of you. What do you do with eye contact? Here is my absolute go-to that I always tell candidates for eye contact in panel interviews. You're trying to build a rapport with these people so that they are letting down their guard some and they're feeling more comfortable with you. And they're actually trying to do the same with you, right? Everybody wants to get past the nerves. So when somebody is talking with you in a panel interview, if they are the one asking you the question, it is important for you to maintain eye contact with that person for the entire duration, if you can, that they're asking the question. Now, if somebody interjects, of course, switch your eye contact to that person. But otherwise, when they're asking you that question specifically and setting you up for when you're going to talk, make sure you maintain eye contact. Now, when you answer the question, your primary eye contact does want to be with that person. I would say you want to do about 50% of the eye contact with the person that asked you the question. And then the rest of the eye contact should go to the other members of the panel interview. You want to engage everybody on every single question. You also want to make sure that when you're getting that eye contact with the rest of the panel, you're picking up on those nonverbal cues. Did you say something that one of the others kind of looked quizzical about, that you maybe need to consider telling more information about what you did? Or do you see somebody nodding in agreement? All of these little verbal cues are going to make it easier as you go through your interview to answer the rest of the questions. So at least 50% on the person that asked you the question, and then spread that time among the other people on the panel interview. Now, there are going to be some people in a panel interview, there usually is, that are going to have some bad behaviors. And you don't want to focus your energy on those bad behaviors. Do not get distracted. So if you have an interviewer who is looking at their cell phone, it's okay to still make some eye contact with them, but you don't want to sit there and focus on that too much. And more importantly, you don't want to let that distract you. Remember, this is your chance to shine and for you to get a chance to tell them all the wonderful, great experiences about you. But it's also a time for you to understand, do you think this is an organization that you want to be a part of? Do you think you fit in with this team? Do you feel like there's a role here for you? Remember, this is a two-way street. So you do want to, when you see those bad behaviors on the interviewer side, still maintain some eye contact, but you don't want to hone in on it too hard. Okay, so here is the other thing that I highly recommend that happens a lot on panel interviews to candidates, and that is you end up getting overwhelmed. Usually, a lot of times managers are actually so excited that you're there, and one will start asking you a question, and then another one will chime in, and another one will chime in, and it'll get this little discussion that moved a smaller question into this big type of ethereal thing. Now, sometimes you can follow it, and it's okay, and it's actually a chance to build great rapport. But there are other times when there may be different competing priorities of the people that are interviewing you. And one's trying to get to know you from this side, and one's trying to get to know you from this side. So what happens is they start asking you a question, and they keep building on it, and the original question gets lost. And that puts you in a really hard position as somebody who's doing a panel interview. So what do? It is totally okay to restate the question. Once they get through, their conversation or discussion, it's totally okay to go back and say, okay, so the original question, or what I'm hearing is, you'd like to know more about me in the following, or with this. And that will give you the opportunity to make sure that you are on point with the question. And if they say, well, actually, can you more focus on this? That's okay. That's totally fine. At least then you're answering the question that they want to hear. The last thing I will tell you about panel interviews that sometimes can get people distracted is when there is some internal tension on the people doing the panel interview. And I wish I could tell you as an HR person, this doesn't happen, but it does. You need to make sure you're staying above it. You need to make sure that you're not getting in the middle of it. It's not necessarily a negative thing that's happening. It's just sometimes they're working through an issue with you live in the room. Don't get distracted, and be careful of kind of volunteering answers or solutions when you may not know all of the different things that are going on. Hopefully this helps you put your best foot forward on those panel interviews. And just a quick note for you, panel interviews are actually easier when you do them over Skype or in some other GoToMeeting type of setup. And the reason for being is you get to maintain eye focus on just the camera, and you don't have to worry about this shifting eye focus from one to the others. So that actually is one time when it is easier to be on a virtual interview as opposed to in person. Thanks for joining us, job seekers. We have live events coming soon. I'm so excited to get to spend time with you all in this different way. So if you haven't seen those yet, please take a minute, and you can find those out on YouTube. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.